to review it. So one of the things I want to talk about tonight, actually we have a question. Is it really just the key terms and parts of speech? So very good question. So we have a question on the midterm exam. So those of you who haven't taken the midterm exam, let me just again summarize the things that are going to be on them. So we covered the chapters in the first half of the course. So all of the chapters, you want to be very familiar with the key terms because a lot of the questions come directly from the publisher and they focus on the key terms. The one chapter you don't have to concern yourself in terms of the key terms is chapter 3. Because chapter 3, I posted the Blackboard, the PowerPoint for chapter 3, but you don't need to know those key terms because that's the chapter on overcoming speech anxiety. And I substituted that with a different lecture. So again, the key terms, focus on them for all the other chapters, but chapter 3, I posted it just in case you want to look it over, but you're not responsible for the key terms in chapter 3. So what else are you responsible for in terms of the midterm? There are 3 other things that I want to mention. So besides the key terms, we did a mini lecture on overcoming speech anxiety. We talked about that. And also within that lecture, I talked about and we discussed the Johari window. You see if someone else is waiting. Okay. So we talked about the Johari window within overcoming speech anxiety. So that was some research, some scholarship done by sociologists to help us understand overcoming speech anxiety. And then I mentioned 5 different ways, things that I recommend in how to become a more effective communicator. So you want to make sure that you review your notes on the lesson we talked about overcoming speech anxiety. Secondly, we talked about the quality eye contact because nonverbal communication is critical if you're going to be an effective communicator. It's not just being able to vocalize or verbalize with your words, but what people see is critical as well. So we had a little mini lecture on the value of quality eye contact, and we discussed why some people are not very good at it. And then I gave some suggestions on how to engage in quality eye contact, how to be better in terms of quality eye contact. Let me just see if anyone else is waiting. Okay, and then the third thing that you want to focus on for the midterm exam is the very last chapter we did before we suspended the class. There was a handout on language, styling language for communication, and it mainly talked about figures of speech. So you want to make sure that you review that you're very familiar with figures of speech because creating figures of speech is a great way for storytellers, great way for people to really make their presentations come to life, to make them multidimensional. So that worksheet that I posted in Blackboard, make sure that you're familiar with those figures of speech and also the other figures of speech that we talked about from chapter 16. Okay, so that's pretty much what's going to be on. Let me see, we have someone else. Okay, so that's what's going to be on the midterm. Does anybody else have any other questions in terms of the midterm? Let me type it in here. Any other? Any other questions regarding the midterm exam? Okay, so if you think of any, then feel free to ask them throughout the chat tonight. The other thing that I want to talk about is what's going to be coming up in terms of the rest of the semester. Now, if you've read the email that I sent you and you saw some of the videos that I posted, the semester for me has been set up as an online course because I've been teaching online courses for over 10 years. And the way that I set it up, which most online courses are set up, is that I will give you an assignment for the week, and then you will have the entire week to work on it. For example, this week you have the entire week study for the midterm exam and complete it by Saturday night. Next week, all the students are required to submit your informative speech by next Saturday night, okay? So let me just talk a little bit about that. Guys, what's going to be posted during the week, probably tomorrow, I'm going to be posting a video on different options that you have in terms of posting a video, because you're going to be required to record your speech. Since obviously we're not going to be doing it live, you're going to record your speech and you're going to submit it to me under assignments in Blackboard. Now, there are lots of different ways that you can do that. And if you're familiar with a way and you get the link to me and it's a link that I can open and watch, fantastic. But some people may not be as technically savvy, and they may need some videos or some tutorials to help them do that. So I'm going to put together a video and I'll probably post it tomorrow. But let me just mention some of the ways that videos and submit their videos to me, because the informative speech video and outline need to be submitted to me by next Saturday night. Okay. So next Saturday night, the date is April, let's see. April 4th. So next Saturday, April 4th. So some of the ways that I'll talk about in the video, but again, I can mention them now. If you're familiar with YouTube and you can videotape your speech and place it on your desktop and then upload it to video, you can set it to a private setting, and then you would submit that link to me so that I would be able to watch it. So that's one way through YouTube. Another way that you can do it is through Google Drive. And again, I'll make a video that discusses how you can do some of these things. It's actually very simple. Again, you would upload it to Google Drive, and then you copy and paste the URL link for the assignment, and then you would submit that to me. There's one that you can actually do through Pace's website. Let me see. Oh, it's called Kaltura. So if any of you are familiar with Kaltura, then that's another way that I'm going to demonstrate through a video that I'll probably post. I'm going to hope to have it done by tomorrow. So Kaltura is a way that you can post it right within the writing assignment. And then if you have any other ways that you can do it, you know, I'm open to that as well. So a couple things, let me just give you some general guidelines in terms of your informative speech. The time frame based on the syllabus is 4 to 5 minutes. So make sure that it's 4 to 5 minutes. And again, you need to submit an outline to me along with the video. One of the things that students have asked me in the past is, do I have to stand up? And the short answer is yes, you should do your presentation standing, because again, the point of this course is for you to be able to present, communication and presentation. Now, in most professional settings, you would be presenting standing up. So that's what the preference is. Now, I've had students in the past say, well, what if I want to use PowerPoint or include some media? And the answer that I give is, it would be okay to include that, and I would allow students to sit down if you're going to include some media. However, you don't want to put the media on the screen so that it's up the majority of the time. In other words, in a 4 to 5 minute speech, you need to be, the majority of the screen needs to be you for at least 3 minutes of it. So if you're going to show a short video that you're going to include in the recording, or you want to include a couple slides from PowerPoint or some photos, that's fine. But the majority of your presentation needs to be you speaking on screen. Because in a professional situation, you may include media, but if you include media elements 1 or 2, then that's fine. And that shows me that you're able to do it. But the thrust, or the main point of this course, is you being able to communicate and presenting yourself, okay? Because again, just as a reminder, there are really two types of people in the world. There are consumers and there are producers. And whether you go into business for yourself or an employer hires you, they're going to hire you based on your skill set, what you can produce. So we're interested in developing our skill set as communicators, as presenters, okay? Now, there's a last resort. Let's say that some students just have no idea how to use technology, or for whatever reason they don't have equipment, they can't record it on their smartphone or something like that, that would be the exception. And in that case, we would have to set up a live feed where you would present your speech to me live. I would set up a Zoom feed, and then I would give it to you, and we would schedule a time, and then you could present your speech live that way, where it was not recorded. But that would be an absolute exception. So it's recommended that you record it and then submit it to me. And also, let me add a disclaimer. Any recordings, any links that I watch, I will watch them, and then they'll never be used again. I'll never look at them again. You know, if you put them on your drive or whatever, feel free to delete them after you've received your grade for that particular assignment, okay? Again, we'll be talking more about it, and then next week we'll have another one of these chats as well to talk about that assignment that's due next Saturday. Let me just briefly talk about, well, let me just ask if there's any questions. Yeah, there's a good question. Does the dress still apply? The answer is yes. Dress code is still required. Good question. So the dress code is still in effect in terms of your speeches, because again, we are preparing you for the professional world, and what you wear, it affects your attitude, and it says something about what you think of your listeners, and it says something about what you think of yourself as well. So again, you know, wear something that is going to show that you're serious about being in the professional workforce. So you don't have to go crazy, but the short answer is yes. So a very good question. Let me see if there's anyone else waiting. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about, and then I'll see if you have any other questions. I just want to talk about what's going to be coming up for the rest of the semester, okay? So this week we had the midterm exam. Next week, your informative speeches are going to be due by next Saturday, Saturday the 4th. And then after that, we will have 5 weeks left. 5 weeks left after next week. After the week of the informative speech, then we're going to dive into the persuasive speech. So I'll be posting the PowerPoints for 2 of the chapters on persuasion. And I'm also going to post sample outlines as well as links for sample persuasive speeches. And what's going to be required of you in terms of your classwork, and this is true for online courses in general, I'm going to include discussion questions. So there's a tab on the side of your Blackboard that has discussion, and you'll have until Saturday night to chime in terms of discussion. Now, I'll probably ask a discussion question, one question based on the PowerPoint lessons, talking about logos, pathos, and ethos, talking about different types of persuasion, lots of different key terms. And then I'll probably post a question that requires you to comment on either a sample outline or one of the sample speeches that I'm going to post. And that's going to be your requirement for that week, okay? Let's see, I have another question. Should the video show our full body or just the waist up? Good question. So in terms of what you want to show in the recording, you want to show at least 3/4. You want to show maybe from your knees up to your head, or at least from below your waist up. So again, it's just good practice, because this is a public speaking course, and in general on a public speaking course, you would be standing. So do one from at least, you know, the mid-thigh up to your head, at least above the knees, and that'll be fine. So good question. Okay, so what else is coming up? So next week is the informative speech, and then in 2 weeks is going to be the lesson, the persuasive speech, and the students will be required to participate through discussion questions. And then the week after that, your fourth speech is going to be, then your persuasive speech is due after that. So next week is the informative speech, and then we have a week of a lesson, and then the persuasive speech is going to be due. So you have about 2 weeks to then do your persuasive speech. And then after that, there's going to be another lesson that wraps up the persuasive speech. And also there's a chapter on ethics and a short chapter on the ceremonial speech. And then you'll have 2 weeks, and then your fourth and final presentation will be due. Now for that presentation, you have a choice. You can either do another informative speech, a persuasive speech, or you can do a how-to speech, or you can do a ceremonial speech. And I'll talk more about those speeches, later on. That's about a month away. And then the final week, 5 weeks after next week, we're going to have the final exam. So the final exam is basically going to cover 5 chapters. It's going to cover 3 persuasive speech chapters. 1 chapter is on persuasion. That's the main chapter. A second chapter is on arguments, because arguments are a little bit different than the framework of persuasion. There's a third chapter on organizing persuasive speeches. I think there's 6 or 7 ways that the text talks about it. So those are the 3 chapters on persuasion. And then you have a 4th chapter on ethics, chapter 5. And then the 5th chapter is going to be on the ceremonial speech. So the final exam will be the last week, and it'll cover those 5 chapters that we're going to be covering over these next couple weeks. Okay? So in a nutshell, midterm this week, the informative speech next week, and then 2 weeks after that, you have the persuasive speech. And then 2 weeks after that, you have your 4th and final speech, and then the final exam is the week after that. Okay? So that's just kind of an overview. Does anyone have any questions? Questions on what's expected? Questions? Let me just ask a general question. Let me see. Everyone's moving forward. Are your classes moving forward? I understand that there are some professors that are teaching actually in real time, so that you have to be online the time you would actually meet for your classes. And that makes sense. That makes sense for some classes. But I hope that all of your classes, you're kind of working through the digital divide, the issues that we're struggling with. So, good. This class, again, there's some flexibility. That's why, again, I've been teaching online classes for a long time. And I can kind of set up things where work can be done for the week. A lot of it, especially, as a grad student, oftentimes you're doing a lot of the work on your own anyway. So it's good discipline, whether it's reading or whatever. So the way that this class was set up, there were activities we could do in class, and I would also show you videos, and we would have discussions. So I post the PowerPoint so you can look at those on your own. And there's a certain convenience factor. You can, whatever time works for your schedule. And then I try and set up these discussions every Thursday. So I'll be doing it twice, 2 o'clock. We didn't have anyone who needed to chime in at 2 o'clock. This one, we have a handful of you, so that's wonderful. And then I'll record it in case someone misses it. So we need to have at least one person show up so that I'll record it. Because I didn't record this afternoon because there wasn't anyone available. But I'll record it, and if anyone wants to review it, then feel free to review it, okay? Let's see, what else? What else can I think of? Does anyone have any other questions? Any questions in general? Any questions? Okay, so let me just mention that also in some of these chats, I'll be bringing in some visuals. For example, I can bring on the calendar. Hopefully you can see that. That's not it. Let me bring on the calendar. So that's the calendar. But I'll be bringing on visuals in some of the upcoming lectures or some of the upcoming chats if you need to see it, just so that you can go along with it. Okay. I could have brought it up today, but anyway, videos don't really come across too smoothly on Zoom. So some of the videos that I'll be posting are ones that you can watch on your own. I'll be posting the link for those because it just doesn't come through smoothly through Zoom. Okay. Let me see if there's any other questions. Anybody have any other questions? Does everyone know, those of you who need to take the exam, do you know where the exam is located? Let me just go ahead and bring that up. All right, let me just bring it up in case some of you are not familiar. So if you were to go to school website, obviously you're going to click on current students. While I bring up the website, I want to mention something else also. So you click on Blackboard, click on the course. Spring 2020. So the exam, the midterm exam, is under assignments. So you have your tabs here on the side. Click on assignments. And if you scroll down to the bottom, then you have your midterm. Again, once you click on it, once you begin the test, then the clock is running. So you have an hour and a half to finish it. Okay. Another thing I want to mention going forward, all these things that we have under documents, all that we have listed for the first half of the course, I'm going to be putting all of these in a separate folder so that it doesn't take up all this space at the beginning. And now you're going to be interacting based on the weeks. So this week obviously talked about the midterm exam. Okay. And there was a video, I made a video, so hopefully you were able to watch that video if you were interested in that. But again, all of this will be in a separate folder. And then next week, week 2, then I'll be talking about, I'll be posting sample outlines. I'll be posting the directions on what you need to include in terms of the requirements for the informative speech. So everything is going to be through these folders moving forward. So hopefully that made sense to you. So again, we have the midterm module 1, module 2 is the informative speech, module 3 is persuasive speech lesson, module 4, the persuasive speech is due, module 5 will have a final lesson along with the ethics and ceremonial speech chapter, and module 6 will be the week that your 4th and final speech will be due, and then week 7, module 7 will be the final exam, okay? And this recording, I'll be posting this recording, it'll also be posted under this week, module 1, so I'll put it in there. I'll also put it under announcements. And while I have it up, PowerPoint 3, Managing Speech Anxiety, this is the one chapter you do not need to concern yourself with in terms of the key terms, but all the chapters you should be familiar with, okay? Okay, so let me return, let's see. Let me see, assignments tab. So someone asked about the assignments tab. So let me go ahead and bring that back up. Assignments tab. So when you click on the course, click on the course. On the left-hand side here, hopefully you can all see it. That was before, assignments tab. Okay, sorry. But the assignments tab, that's where I posted a lot of the work. That's where I posted a lot of the examples The Documents tab is where I posted all the PowerPoint. So the PowerPoint slides were posted under Documents on your left side. Those are all PowerPoint. And that's where, that's where the module folders are going to be, under Documents. And then your assignments is where I put all of the sample outlines and the video links. Okay. And the midterm exam, obviously. So moving forward, the weekly folders are all going to be found under Documents. Documents. Okay. Let's see, hopefully that answered your question. Regarding the assignments tab. Okay, anybody have any more questions on where to find things in terms of the course? Okay, so yeah, basically what I wanted to talk about today, let me see. Again, basically what I wanted to talk about today were three things. I wanted to talk about the midterm, in case anybody had any questions regarding the midterm. So you still have 2 more days. Today's Thursday. You have until Saturday midnight, 11:59 to finish the midterm. A lot of people have taken it already. A lot of people have done well. And secondly, I wanted to talk a preview about what's coming up next week, which is your informative speech. And there are lots of different ways you can get a link to me. So that's something you want to be thinking about. Don't wait until the last minute. Again, whether you're going to record it on your smartphone or you have a computer camera of some sort, you're going to need to upload it. So you cannot upload a file to me. The file will probably be too big, so you'll need to upload it to some sort of drive. So if you're not familiar with that, let me know. I'll be posting a video hopefully tomorrow that discusses at least 3 different ways that I'm familiar with. One is through YouTube. You can set it to privacy so that no one else will watch it, but you submit the link to me. The second is through Google Drive. And again, I'll put this on the video. I'll show you how you can do that, usually through Gmail. So if you don't have Gmail, you can set up a Gmail account just to use Google Drive. And then the third one is through the Blackboard called Kaltura, which is basically a cloud that's used in Blackboard or one that's used. PACE has one where students can submit their work. But it's just another place where you can place your drive or place your video on a drive so that the link can be accessed. Otherwise, the files begin to get too big. So those are the 3 ways that I'm going to talk about. If you know of any other ways that you can do it, or if you are familiar with another way that you can do it, as long as you get me the link and I can watch it, then we're all good. And the last resort would be if someone was unable to do that, then I would set up an appointment. I would set up a Zoom, and we would have maybe a 15-minute block where you would chime in, at like from 2 o'clock to 2:15, and you would do your speech in real time. So that would be a last resort. That's not a preference for me, but if there are some people that don't have certain technical capabilities, then that may be a last resort. Okay. So those are the things I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about the midterm exam. I wanted to talk about the first speech that's coming up, the informative speech. Actually, it's your second speech, but the informative speech next week. And then what's taking place, thirdly, what's taking place for the rest of the semester. All right. So let me just ask finally if anyone has any questions. Other questions? Next week, next Thursday, we will have another. Next Thursday, let me see. Next Thursday, we'll have another one of these chats where you can ask questions. Again, you'll be able to review the video I'm going to put together. I'll have one set up for 2 o'clock. I didn't have anyone who came on to the call at 2 o'clock, so I didn't record anything. And then I'll have another one again at 8 o'clock. Some people are not available. Sometimes they have other things going on, other classes at 2 o'clock. But I'm happy to do these for the rest of the semester because I want to make sure that I'm available to you all. And the last thing I want to mention is at any time between now and when your presentations are due at the end of next Saturday, feel free to email me your outlines or maybe a rough draft of what you're working on, and I'll give you feedback on your speeches. Happy to do that, okay? And I try and get to you within 24 hours. So feel free to do that. Otherwise, if you have any questions, we'll have another chat next Tuesday or next Thursday. Next Thursday, what is next Thursday? Next Thursday is April 4th. No, April 2nd. So next Thursday, April 2nd, we'll do another one of these live chats where I'll do kind of an overview at both 2 o'clock and at 8 o'clock. Okay? Anybody have any other final questions or comments? Questions or comments? Okay, I want to wish you all well. I want to hope that you are safe, you and your family are safe. And again, I'm here for you if you have any questions about anything. All right, take care and have a great weekend. Thank you. You have a good weekend too.